Hi guys, Teresa here again. Today's game did not turn out the way we expected, but it was a learning curve, and I think there are some things that the coaches have definitely seen, and I'm sure they will be working on before our next game. But let's quickly look at the figures here. We have shooting percentages. Canada had 50% field goal percentage, and we had just 22%, which is lower than what we did yesterday. Of course, we know that the game ended 113 to 42. 2-point percentages here, we have 45 for Canada and 23.53 for Nigeria. And on the 3-point range, which is where they killed us, they have 55% and we have just 20%. Of course, Wando tried to come back in the third quarter a little bit, but it wasn't enough for us. And then on the free throw percentage, we weren't too bad from yesterday. We still maintained 55%, but they were higher with 68.42% on the free throw. As for rebounds, of course, they dominated with 52 rebounds against our 36. And offensively, we were in there a little bit with them. They just had 3 more rebounds than us, 18, and we had 15 on the offensive rebound. On the defensive rebound, they had more, 34, and we had just 21. And on the assist, 31 against our 8 assists, and then 14 steals to our 7. And 3 blocks to 1 block. Anyway, those are the figures for stats. And now let me tell you some things that I noticed about the Canada game that just got them. They were playing an extended zone defense. They were switching one-on-one. They were just switching their defensive styles at different points, and I think we didn't have an answer to that. They had a good ball rotation. They knew that personnel. There was spacing on the floor. They were hustling for every rebound going in there. They were defending the gap. That's why they were able to get that many steals. They were hedging on the screens, and we didn't know how to play or react to that. And then some things that we needed to need to improve on: the time management, our shot selections. Shot clock was always almost running out on us. We had a few wasted possessions, especially in the first quarter. We didn't score until like 3 minutes left in the first quarter. We're getting caught in their screens. We need to work on how to go around screens, whether we're switching, we're going over the screen, or we're going on top of the screen. Either way, our help defense is also slow. It was the same way yesterday, but then over time we were able to, get back on track in the game. But today, our help defense, it was nowhere to be found at some point. We were ball watching on the rebounds. That's why they were getting a lot of the rebounds, especially defensively for them. We allowed too many 3 points in the first half of the game. And then there were too many overhead passes, cross passes. Those kind of passes are not like ideal in professional basketball setting. I mean, I know these are kids or younger players, but then we did a lot of that, and it wasn't good for us. Canada capitalized on a lot of the loopholes that they saw in the game, and there are some things that we did well. We put them in foul trouble, but then we didn't use it. We still played with a lot of high energy despite the scores. Yes, for sure. We kept playing. The energy was still high, just that we were not converting those, energy to points, if you get what I mean. And then we didn't allow them to completely control the pace on our own offense. They controlled the pace of the game most of the time, but sometimes we had control over our own offense. That was something that we did. And what also is a takeaway for me in this game is that this game is a learning curve for Nigeria. This is an eye-opener for everyone, both players, both coaches, the administration, and BBF. There's so much work to be done, as we can all see. If our players can get more exposure, can go on tours, to practice, to play friendly games and all of that, it will go a long way to help us to, so that when we see teams like this, when we see tough opponents like this, we'll be able to match up, skill-wise, energy-wise, offensively, defensively, and all of that. So basically, lesson learned, and on to the next one. Our next game is going to be on Tuesday against Portugal. Portugal won their game today against China, and that was also another tough game for China. But we'll see. Right now, we both have 1 losses and 1 win between us and Portugal. So we'll see what happens in that next game. But hey, our girls, keep your heads up. We still have more games to play. This is not the end. This is just, like I said, an eye-opener for us. And of course, the coaches are going to get to work, and they would try to scout as much as they can before our next game on Tuesday. So good luck in our next game. And hey, everybody, let's encourage our girls and let's keep the spirits up. And for our administration, we know what to do with basketball in Nigeria. Let's try to see how we can, get players playing a lot more games. And yeah, we hope for the best in our next game. And that's it for today. Until Tuesday, Teresa out.